today I'm gonna talk about how you can do 20 grand per month out of your gym without ads. What I'm gonna share with you in this video is exactly what I did for the first 2 years of running my gym. Now, at first when I opened up, I was just an absolutely great trainer. I just wanted to have my own business. I wanted to be able to train clients. I honestly didn't know what's possible. Now, I would only want to open up gyms that are gonna get to 40, 50, 60K, up to 80 grand on a monthly basis. But that may not be for you. In fact, what I'll be sharing, the person that was doing this in his gym, me, years ago, would not be a good fit for my business now at Gym Academy, which is totally cool. My goals now, how I would operate a gym right now, how I have our members inside of the academy and inside of the boardroom inside of Gym Academy, how they operate their gyms is completely different. And the cool thing is, it's not for everybody. Some people just are absolutely great trainers. They want to have their own fitness business. They want to train clients every hour of the day. Fantastic. And you can do that and have an absolutely great living. That's totally cool. So what I'm going to show you inside of this video is exactly how I did that and exactly how you can do that and how you can grow your business to, I don't care if it's 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month. I got up to 20 grand a month doing exactly what I'm going to show you inside of this video. And it didn't revolve around me doing any sort of paid traffic. I love ads. I believe every business should run ads. That being said, it may not be in the cards for you. Maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe you have a different desire with the fitness business. Totally fine. So inside this video, I'm not going to show you exactly what you could do. I'm going to show you exactly what I did. This is exactly what I did. And also I'm going to share with you what I would do right now if I was going to follow this method, and I'm going to be mapping it out with you together. There's about 4 steps that you can do that I did that's going to help you get to 20 grand a month without paid ads. I'm going to cover though what I would change in 2026 to make this even more effective, because the landscape has changed from when I was initially doing this, but everything that I'm going to share with you still works amazingly today. So if you do this, you will 100% get to 20 grand a month. And actually, as I'm talking out loud, there's going to be 2 things that I didn't do that you can do today that would actually make this easier. And the cool thing again is you don't have to run a single ad in order to make this happen. Now, I personally believe that every single training-based gym, boutique, boot camp, large group, semi-private, small group, I believe every single one of those gyms can do between 40 to 60 grand a month. And you can be at that number with amazing profit margin, as well as gyms getting to 80, 100 plus K on a monthly basis. The way that I like to operate gyms is I love multiple locations. I'm getting into the weeds on this stuff, so I'm actually going to cut myself off because none of that really is important. Really why I was bringing that up is, although that's where I want to bring the gyms to right now, maybe that's not your goal, or maybe that's right now just not your thing, totally cool. In fact, as I said earlier, me during the initial stages of this, I had a chip on my shoulder 100% when I opened up my business. I wanted to be the best, but I was focused on very different things. I shifted eventually to realizing, wow, I want to be the best at business. Actually, let me rephrase that. I want to be the best at fitness business. In the beginning, I wanted to be the best trainer. I trained athletes, I trained general population, semi-private. I wanted to be the absolute best at doing that. And that's where my energy went. Totally fine. It served me really, really well. That person wasn't going to be super coachable on a lot of the strategies that I teach today, because at that time, I couldn't imagine not training clients. I absolutely loved that. So to me, I want to help gym owners and studio owners create a business that they get to go to, not have to be at. That's a big thing that we say, because it's my true belief. I think you should build an amazing business. And a lot of times when we say remove the owner from the day to day, it's not so that you don't go. It's so that you don't have to be there, but the business is still operating. It's still being very profitable, still being able to grow your bank account. But if I have a business that's awesome with team members that are awesome, the clients are awesome, I'm still going to want to go there. But in the beginning stage, that wasn't me. I just wanted to train. There was a point in time though, where I remember I finally took my first vacation, and I opened up my gym when I was 25. And I was like, do I want to be training clients for the rest of my life? I'm going to be 45, 50. Do I still want to be training clients? The answer to me was no. I didn't want to be trading time for money. For you, it may be yes, or at least in the current state of your journey, it may be yes. Totally cool. So if you're like, hey, I'm a trainer, I have my own gym, it's just me, or I'm training out of a place and I just want to do well and I want to get to 10, 15, 20 grand a month, all the other strategies that I teach will 100% help you. It'll get you there fast, but you don't have to do it. If you're just like this, hey, I like being that owner, operator, the implementer inside of the business, great, cool. This is exactly what I did. So I'm going to share with you the top 3 or 4 things that I did to grow it to 20 grand a month. And then I'm going to share with you 2 things that I would do now to bolt into this strategy to make it the most effective going into 2026. So the first thing I did was actually, oh, you're going to hate me for this, door knocking. You're gonna notice, by the way, that I can't spell. Apologies in advance. So I didn't understand marketing. I didn't know how to go ahead and get clients. I just opened my gym because I was a good trainer and I was like, oh shit, I need to be able to pay my bills. How I pay my bills is by having clients. I need to go find clients. What I would do is I had clients, a little bit of clients in the morning. I'd have some athletes in the afternoon, but I had that big chunk in the middle of the day open. So I just got in my car and I would drive around, and you may not know me. You're watching this video on YouTube. Maybe you're listening to it if we put it into a podcast, but I'm actually extremely introverted. But inside of the fitness business, you got to get over that. You have to be extroverted. So I had to learn how to be extroverted. So I had to get over my fears, and no matter how uncomfortable it made me. So what I would do is in the middle of the day, I would just go, who has my clients? And I would just get in my car, drive around, find a business that I was like, my client would actually probably go and be here. And I would just walk in. I would introduce myself. I would just make it so that every single day, I hit up 3 to 5 businesses. These businesses, I'm just gonna go here, would have my ideal client, would have my clients there. This would be about 1 to 2 hours I would get in my car and do this. So it's not like it's taking a ton of time. I had free time anyway, so I would get in there, I would just go, I'd grab some food usually, and I would just drive away, and I would just pick different directions. Like, there was no real massive plan or strategy. So a big takeaway that I hope you can get from this is sometimes it can just be that simple. It doesn't need to be overtly complicated. In fact, simple scales. That is something that I hammer anytime I'm doing a one-on-one consulting or coaching session. I'm always like, hey, how do we simplify this? But the first thing that I would do is just do door knocking. I would get in my car every single day. I would try and hit about 3 to 5 different businesses, and all I would do is just introduce myself. I would introduce myself, try and speak with the owner. When I speak to the owner, I would just say, hey, I'd love to get you to come on into the gym. Maybe I would give him a free session. Maybe I would give him a free week. Again, I didn't know anything about offers or any of that stuff. So I was just trying to start a conversation. There's a lot of things that later on I was able to apply and be like, oh, I did this, and this is why it worked, and this is how. But I was just being human, introducing myself and getting to know these people. So then eventually made some like flyers and shit. I would put it in there. Like, let's say it was a chiropractor. Here's who I would go to. So I would look at who they were. A lot of times this would be for like general population. It would be like chiropractors, it would be physical therapy practices, it would be any sort of like medical offices. Honestly, one of the ones that worked really, really well, it was a jiu-jitsu school. So jiu-jitsu wasn't as popular as it is now, but I just went ahead, knocked on the door, introduced myself, the owner, chatted with. He came in, he then brought a bunch of his students, they came in. And then actually my first ever employee came from there because he was actually studying at the local university in that town. I went about like 20 minutes away from where my gym was. He then came in, he did his internship with me, he did part-time with me. And it's the reason why I opened up a second location. I was like, hey, I got this great employee. How do I continue growth for him? I'll run this location, he can go run the next location. Anyway, it was a great thing because then it taught me a lot of this. What I'm teaching here, by the way, is not very scalable. It's great if you have a single location, you're only looking to do 10 to 20 grand a month. Like, it's great for that. But if you're trying to do multiple locations, this does work in smaller doses, but it's not something I would bank on for a scaling strategy as a heads up. Anyway, so that's how I do it. That's how they came in. And that was number 1. Number 2 would be cold email. I don't know too many fitness business owners that actually do this, but again, I trained athletes. I was trying to say, how do I go ahead and get in touch with athletes? Because in the afternoon, it was great. I had an amazing human being that really helped me start my business. In fact, like, I started training in his basement. Now, Pete and his wife, I owe so much to them, but I was literally training them in the basement. And fortunately for him, I trained his kids. I trained his 2 sons, as well as Melissa. And Pete and Melissa just got me into that baseball team, by the way. It's one of the ways I was able to get a lot of initial clients, was just having that one client who then introduced me to so many people, because again, my product was good. I was a good trainer. But I was like, all right, I got them coming in. How do I go get more? Because I was a sports performance gym. It was called Legion Sports Performance. So it's how do I go get more athletes? Because that's what I wanted to do. And especially like after 3, how do I go do that? So I would just straight up cold email. I would go get a list. I would just straight up Google. You can also use AI now for local high schools, middle schools, and colleges, and find their sports teams. Then I would find the emails of the coaches, and I would send an email with an invite for the team to come to the facility. This strategy was actually extremely effective for me. And it was a numbers game. Like, I probably would, I don't know, I couldn't tell you. Maybe it was like 5 to 10 emails a day. So it wasn't like this massive volume or anything like that. Let's say I'd go to a high school, I take a look at all of the teams they had. Usually they'd have the coaches' emails on there. I would grab all the coaches' email and I would just send them an email one by one. Generally what I would try and do though is I would look at the season that we were in since train athletes. It was like, okay, this is a good time to get baseball players. Hey, this is a good time to get football players. Football players, personally, I did find to be actually some of the more difficult ones to get just because they were so indoctrinated at the time because of the strength and conditioning programs in the school, getting them out of it. But like swimming was killer for me. Baseball, basketball. I got just from cold emailing, I got so many, like it's actually honestly probably what built my business from doing the cold, like the door knocking and then doing cold email, built the business in the beginning. Plus having that one parent that was just referring as many people as they could. Now, caveat, I was really fucking good at what I did. So when I did train these athletes, they got amazing results. Amazing results. So if you suck, probably still gonna be tough. But also with like really great strategies that we teach to scale really fast, if you suck at it, yeah, you're gonna have a leaky bucket because your product isn't any good. And by the way, like how good your product is, that's why one-on-one training, if you're like really great one-on-one trainer, you have clients forever because the training is so good, the results they get are so good, the connection is so good. Anyway, my product was really, really good. Not a big fan of one-on-one, by the way. There's no leverage. It's really tough to scale. I would probably send like 5-10 emails a day. I would find the coaches and, you know, kind of like the season, the time it would be. I just created a document. I put a list of all the emails. Maybe it was Google Sheets or maybe an Excel spreadsheet. And I would put it in there of the school, coach, like the sport team, the coach, their email, maybe their phone number and all that stuff. And then it would do that. Usually the invite was just, hey, I'd love to have a workshop on how to do whatever thing. It's like how to increase your jump, how to pitch harder, how to like protect your shoulders, you know, that kind of stuff, how to increase rotational power depending on the sport. I would send that out there and be like, hey, I'm hosting a workshop at my gym. You know, would you guys be interested? Like nothing crazy. Now I'm like, oh, it's an offer. Oh, look, like here's this messaging. It was super short and all that. And I would send that out there and I would get responses. And they'd be like, yes, this is great. No, we're not interested. Or they just wouldn't email me. I got so many of my clients. In fact, I remember like the LTV was so strong that this is pretty cool. So one of my first ever cold emails, emailed the coach his son was one of the athletes. So he came in and his really good friends, a couple of their other team members played, but he trained with me and he was probably they must have been 12 years old and they trained all the way through college with me. And then one of those athletes decided to open a gym. So when he was opening a gym, came to us inside of the academy and we helped him launch his gym. Like talk about LTV from a fucking cold email. Really, really cool in that regard. Now, this is how I got a bunch of them then, which leads me to number 3, which is cold calling. I know. Again, I'm not saying like a lot of these tactics you're going to notice it's me going to them and I didn't have like a lot of resources. So I had to get resourceful. What I did have was time. I had the middle of the day and I made a rule for myself. I love training probably like you. If you're, you know, fit pro, you love fitness, you love working out. Like that was something that I was going to do. I didn't care if I had to wake up early. I didn't have to stay late. So one of the rules I gave myself when I was opening my business was that I had to do my daily activities in order to grow the business before I was allowed to work out. If I got all this stuff done by 12, cool, I could work out at 12. If I was having a day where I was just dragging ass and I didn't get it done and I finished my last client at 7 o'clock and I still had to do this stuff, then I would train at 9 o'clock at night and that's what I would do. It was kind of like my reward. I didn't want to have to do these activities, but I knew I did in order to grow my business. So in order to actually get that shit done, instead of delaying it and like going and training, I would just go ahead instead and make sure like that dangle the carrot is like, I want to get my workout in. And at the time I was like doing powerlifting and all that stuff. So like training was extremely freaking important to me. So I would make sure I got it done and that's how I do it. So then cold calling. Again, and all I would do is the same email list that I would build or the same list I would build for like cold emails. Those would be like, so my cold email list, I would call the coaches or the schools and try and figure out if I can get in touch with them or anything like that. I would then also just, again, Google, and now you could use AI to do it, local businesses around me. And call them. These would be like, beauty salons, PTs, chiros. I would do med spas now if I were you. So you can do that. And then also, not necessarily physical therapy practice, but like even like surgery centers and stuff. And like, honestly, like sometimes I would just go and in this regard here, if I didn't know where to go, I would just go. I would sometimes Google, hey, I want to make sure I go to this one. And then I'm going to find a couple other businesses along the way. Like I'm going to make sure I go there and I'm going to make sure on the way back. I'm going to be gone for an hour or 2 hours. I would just do that. So a lot of times I would get there. That would be my list. I'd write it down. Maybe nobody was there and I'd go and call them. Or so I would just call the schools and the coaches, try and get in touch with them. Again, offer to bring them in for a workshop or a session or whatever that I was doing. Or same thing. What I would sometimes do for like other businesses, like if I was going to one of these, is I could bring them in or I would do lunch and learns. I did a lunch and learn. it wasn't a physical therapy practice. For some reason, I'm like drawing a blank. It's like right there, but it was something in like the kind of the medical field. So that I went in, and later on, it would have been even better if I, kind of did more weight loss and trained more women like I did. But at the time, it was like 90% men inside of my gym. I did have some people that, some women, some high school athletes and stuff like that were female, but mostly men, very meatheady. I went and did it at this practice. I did a lunch and learn, brought a bunch of Qdoba in there. I just had a conversation. I just stood awkwardly in the fucking corner and would try and talk to people. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And luckily, I talked to one of the guys that was a CFO for the business. Awesome human being, Bruce. He was completely had shoulder issues, back issues, all that stuff. But he was active, love training. He trained with me for like 2 years, maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 times a week, and in my semi-private program. So that one lunch cost me a couple $100s to go to Qdoba. Cost me like getting over myself, doing, I can't remember if I probably just honestly like went by, knocked on the door, laid my info. Maybe somebody came, or maybe I talked to them, or maybe I cold emailed them like, yeah, you could do, we do lunch and learns on these days. Went in, bought Qdoba for the office, had that conversation, and that guy paid me more in 1 month than it cost me to do that, and then stayed with me for like 2-3 years. So again, a lot like me going to people. My strategy is now I want people coming to me, but at the time I had to be resourceful, didn't have a ton of money, didn't know the things that I didn't know now either. So I was just like, I know there's human beings, I train human beings, let me go find the human beings. So this is really the 3 ways that I grew my gym. And this is what I did to get to 20 grand a month in my training business. And you can do this right now. You can do this today. It will 100% work. This is just classic like methodologies to essentially go and generate leads and go and do sales. It will never go away. And the cool thing is most people don't want to do it. So it allows you, like a lot of times, one of the best strategies is just to be different. So while everybody else, I'm going to share a couple strategies that other people are definitely doing, but I would do now, so a lot of people are going to be focused on this. Nobody's going to be focusing on this. So it's like less noise. You're different. You're going to stand out. So this is a huge way that you can grow, and it costs you $0. And the cool thing, like when I was doing 20 grand, my overhead was like $3,000 maybe a month. I'm going to do another video, which is like how I was able to open my gym for so cheap, how I would open up gyms today, by the way. There's some key rules that allowed me that like I had a mentor help me not make the mistakes that so many gym owners make, which is like not having brutal rent, not having spending way too much on build up. Again, another video, I'm getting lost in my sauce. But because I had that set up, then because I did this, and because I was really good, and I had so low overhead in my life, I was able to actually do pretty dang well relatively quickly, knowing absolutely nothing about business. Eventually, I had the shift when I realized, hey, I didn't want to just keep training people. This business was completely built around me, and this is going to be my life for the next 20, 30, 40 years, and I want to be able to eventually like not have to work all the time. Here's the 2 extra bonuses I'm going to give you here that I would 100% do now because of how brutally effective they are. One is just optimized website. I did have a website. I built it myself at the time. These are like, and again, part of one of my businesses. We can help you with this, but like just an optimized website will help with local SEO and local AEO. One of the team members that we have, he actually runs this division for Academy. Prior to coming to us, he was doing 20 grand a month, and because he was just getting clients from his website. His website brought him in anywhere up to like a bad month would be like 20 leads, a great month would be like 50 leads, but he was adding like 10, 15, 20 clients monthly just from his website. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I think those numbers are correct, so don't 100% quote me on that. But he was able to grow to like 20 grand a month just from doing that. No ads, nothing of that nature. Honestly, just optimizing his website. So I would do this with the things that I know now. I didn't know it back then. I would do this in the beginning for sure. I would prioritize scaling via like paid traffic, and then I would still do this. I would just do this simultaneously. But this is a very cost-effective way. It takes a little bit of time to build up, but once it's good, it's like gonna consistently bring you like super hot leads, people that are ready to buy. But like every market's gonna be a little different, by the way. I wouldn't bank on having a ton of volume, but none of these strategies that I just went over with you are like massive growth strategies. You're gonna have really slow growth, and that could be cool with you, and that's totally fine. But I would optimize my website 100%. It's just a no-brainer. There's some other stuff I can go in there, but I'm not going to go into that. And then of course, number 5, I would focus, because if I'm not running paid ads, like I'm going to do organic social media. And again, it's going to be slow, but it'll allow it to, like, if somebody's searching for me, they're looking around, they somehow hear me from a friend, they drive by my gym or something like that, they'll go take a look at my Instagram. They'll be able to kind of see a little bit about me. Maybe they'll go look at like YouTube shorts or whatever. That's where they go. But I am going to take advantage of organic SEO. And there's a bunch of strategies I'm not going to get into today. I'll do another video, but like I'm just starting to do organic. I did organic in a very simple way in my gyms. We teach organic for our clients. It absolutely murders. Lead you astray and be like, I am the best when it comes to organic. No, I'm like effective with it. I would 100% do it. There's a couple strategies I would do, but like I would be active, like posting on my feeds, especially with videos, just showing proof. And then frankly, I would be following. We actually had a client that did this. It's actually how we connected. But when he opened up his gym, he just went and found everybody around him, followed them, and sent DMs. Again, cold strategies, but I would find local businesses and people, follow, cold DM. That's what I would do. Because like this stuff will be good. It's gonna just eventually warm people up. But chances are, if like this is your strategy, probably not gonna be an absolute savage when it comes to organic. You're probably not exactly gonna know what you should be doing with organic. So I'm gonna make sure I have it on there so when somebody does find me somehow, it's like got some good sauce for them. But what I am gonna be doing is like anybody that does find me, likes a post, does anything like that, I'm gonna send them a DM, but I'm also gonna go and follow local businesses. So I'd probably try and do like 20 cold outreaches per day. If I was just to kind of zoom out a little bit here for you, let me see here. If I wanted to do 20 grand per month out of my fitness business without running any sort of ads, and I would also just make sure you know, like, can you do this and go further? Yeah, I wouldn't freaking bank on it, but this will be a strategy that will allow you to grow your business. It's just probably going to be slow. And if you're cool with that, great. That's not my thing, but if you're cool with that, awesome. But I would do door knocking 100%. I would just make myself go out 1 to 2 hours a day, knock on 3, 5, 10 businesses, introduce myself, and I would just make myself do it every single day. I would send cold emails. I can do this in the morning. I can do this in the afternoon. I can do this at night. That's the great thing about it. And I would try and send 5 to 10 cold emails every single day. Then I would just take these lists of businesses that I've found, of emails that I've generated, and then I would just call them. So a cold email, and here's just kind of a list of the people you can do. I would make sure I have a great website that's optimized to bring in local traffic. And then I would also do organic social media, but in a way I would do it is an old school annoying way, but I would send 10 to 20 cold outbound DMs every single day. If you do this, you will grow your business without a doubt. It's exactly what I did. It is not sexy whatsoever, but it works. So if you got value out of this video today, all I ask is that you share it with a fellow trainer or business owner or gym studio owner that you know. And also, if you do these tactics, I'd love to know. Comment below. Shoot me a DM. You can find me on Instagram at IamBombThompson. Let me know how these work for you. And then if you're ever ready, you want to take it to the next level, you want to grow significantly faster, you want to do $500,000 or more out of your gym so you're making 20, 30, 40K or more take home. And yeah, you have a business you get to go to, but not training every single session, then cool. We can help you do that as well. If not, this will work for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.